Morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Good morning and hello. Oops.
You're good. You're good. Keep rolling.
Okay. Sorry, it said my mic was muted.
No, you're good. I could hear you.
Okay. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 413. 18 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yay! Today, recording day is Thursday, July 4th, the 4th of July. Happy Independence
Independence Day in the U.S.
Day?
Yeah, Independence Day. Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776.
Or happy first Independence Day?
Yeah, I get it.
Independence?
I get it. It took me a minute.
All you nations are independent, throw your hands up at me. It's never a bad time for a little Beyonce. All right. And also election day, voting day in the UK. I believe that the earliest that we can get an idea of how bad it is going to be are exit polls that will be coming out at 10 p.m. local time. And I don't think it's anywhere near that yet in the UK. So, yeah, it's only noon. So, a while yet to see what's happening there. Back home, actually, you know what? Before we do the back home, we'll do the barrel thing. Oh, darn. I didn't even do the full introduction, didn't I?
No.
I didn't even thank the sponsors. I just got right into it.
Yep.
Yeah. I am excited.
Clearly.
Yes. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Thank you so much for everything you do for us. With me, of course, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. How's your mental health doing today, and how's your back, sir?
Back is I'd say about 85% today. So I'm almost at normal because I'm never 100%, unfortunately, when you're old and broken like I am. I actually had a few minutes lying in bed when I was able to just twist the spine enough to go, oh, there's no pressure, there's no pain, for about 3 minutes, and the dog jumped on the bed, and then that all ended. So, But yeah, I had a couple minutes there where it was bliss. But yeah, mental health-wise, I think I'm pretty good. Slight anxiety. Always have a little bit when I'm getting ready for a trip. You know, there's until I'm seated on the aircraft and we're about to take off. I'm anxious. I'm not an anxious flyer. It's getting to the airport, getting through security, getting on the plane, getting your luggage stowed, and taking off. After that, I chill. There's that anxiety about, is everything going to be okay? Is there going to be an issue with my ticket? Is there going to, You get the anxiety lies to you and tells you a million things when it shouldn't be a problem. But I always get like this. So I'm not a nervous traveler because I'm not. Once I'm on the plane, I'm fine. I'm anxious about getting to the airport on time, getting through security without any issues, getting seated, all of that.
Yep. I totally feel you.
I think anybody who's traveled can relate to that. It's not like it was 30 years ago or 40 years ago, for that matter, 30 years ago, when you could just chill. You could go 30 minutes, if it was domestic, 30 minutes before your flight.
Right.
I usually went an hour just to be safe because I'd like to get in and get settled and relax a little bit. But since 9/11, so 2001, so that's 23 years now, things are different, and they've changed the security entrance and the way you get through it at Ottawa's airport, McDonald-Cartier International Airport. It's a much bigger area now, but it's slower. Yeah, it's slower. Oh yeah.
Oh,
they've got a unique way of doing it. And it's like, why don't I just show up in a Speedo and flip flops? Like, I mean, really? You want me to go through the X-ray thing? I will.
Oh my God, I could see it.
It's just, oh my God, like
with the snorkel and the goggles. Oh man. Okay.
The strike is over. PNC Bio. The strike ended last week. On Saturday morning, it was called off.
The WestJet? Yeah, indeed. Well, since you mentioned it, I have a little thing on that. So yes, the strike is over, but that's brought back this issue of compensation rights for travelers, because the federal government had mentioned about a year ago, when the transport minister was Omar Al-Gabra, that they would be bringing in some rules to simplify things, because under current regulations, airlines must pay compensation of up to $1,000 for delays they caused unless they're safety related. Now, of course, that gets a lot of people to say, well, that they're just saying that so that they don't have to pay me, and until they prove otherwise, I'm just not going to believe them.
And I can't prove it.
Well, that's exactly what the guy who's the big passenger rights advocate, Ian Jack, we hear about all the time on the news. He says that specifically. It's a huge gray area that really only the carriers can take advantage of, because if a carrier says, well, there's a safety issue, and that's why you didn't take your flight, who are we as passengers to say whether that's true or not? You literally have no information on which to base a claim that no, it's not. Like, you have zero power in this case to advocate for anything. He says that the new rule should have arrived by now and that it's becoming a long delay. But a spokesperson from transport named Tom Uman says that it must consider all sides of the debate before changing the regulations. Quote, regulations can take time to be developed. And boy, don't I know that, because I worked in one place where we're trying to develop some regulations that were expected within the space of 5 years. I'm still hearing about it on the news, how it's not all done yet. And this is 20 years later.
Yeah, it takes time.
So
sometimes it takes a long time because you'll have lobbyists that are trying to find ways to knock it down and make it not happen, especially if it's going to cost their client money. So they'll fight it tooth and nail. And then we usually get screwed.
And then it depends, regulations for what, right? So things like airline safety, for example, or things that you put in your body, the standard is way higher, right, than for a lamp.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So there's things will take time here, but this one's a consumer thing. But the airlines relate it to safety, because they say, well, if you get rid of the safety exception, well, you're penalizing us, the carriers, for taking the safety precautions that are needed to delay the flights. So, okay, then there needs to be a way for these delays to be recorded somehow mechanically.
Trust me, they'll figure out a way to make it so that everything is a safety thing and they don't have to pay you a penny.
Well, that's what they're doing now, but now they just have to say it. So there has to be some type of mechanism where things have to be documented and, I don't know, pictures taken or sometime. So if they say it is a safety thing, that it actually is a safety thing.
Mm-hmm.
That there's video done or something. Because that's the only way, because still, no matter whatever that dynamic is, it's not like they're going to let all the passengers in by the plane while the stuff is happening and say, oh yeah, there is a safety thing. Right?
Well, right now the legislation as it stands doesn't have any teeth whatsoever. Not for the consumer.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Let's hope that changes.
And of course, along with that is a 72,000 air passenger complaint backlog.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Indeed.
Now,
apparently it's down a lot because there was a lot of those that were accumulated during the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can guarantee you there's a lot of them that are really coming silly too. Like, I ordered a cold Coke and I got a warm ginger ale. There's definitely going to be complaints like that.
Possibly, but
don't you remember a guy a couple of years ago who ordered in French and was served in English and launched
on Air Canada? Yes, but it was Air Canada, which has a mandate. So.
I know, but
I know.
That was a dick move.
I know.
Look, I get it. He wasn't technically wrong. He wasn't. But it's a dick move.
The being a literalist.
Yes.
Now, I guess one person could say, well, gee, if I wasn't even able to get a Coke in French, what happens if the
That's a stretch. That's a stretch. It's a stretch.
I have no idea what was argued, right? But that's about the only path that I can see that's not a total dick move.
And the worst part is the guy's perfectly bilingual.
Yes.
So that was a dick move.
But it's for the.
I understand.
When you make a thing, sometimes it's not so much about you, but for everyone else, right? Like if somebody was going to do something, I can't think of something off the top of my head.
Well, it would be better if it had been.
But that would be anti. Yeah. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
If they didn't give you the safety presentation in both official languages.
Oh yeah,
then.
absolutely. Yeah. But let's say they had done like something anti-rainbow like this, and I'm saying like, well, yeah, but I can handle it.
No, that's quite a bit different than getting your soda order in a different language.
I know that, but that's what I mean. I can't think of what the equivalent for something that you are genetically would be for something language. Yeah. Not respecting language rights, because we're talking about different planes here as well. But it's like I said, the only avenue I could possibly think is if that person's saying, well, gee, if I can't even get a Coke, what happens if the plane goes down? But other than that, I can't. Why? Anyway, now the other thing that is going on here as well is the criminal trial of Pat King is resuming today. Now he has pleaded not guilty to mischief, counseling others to commit mischief, and other offenses. The charges, of course, are in relation to the events that made us famous. Thanks. I feel bad doing that sometimes, actually. Oh, man. So, yeah. We'll see what happens with that, because, it keeps on getting delayed. I mean, you want justice and due process to be happening. So we'll see. Because I think last time it's started for just a few days and then it stopped again. So we'll see if we can get a good stretch going on here.
Let's hope.
Yeah. The other thing, talking about labor disputes, because we were talking about WestJet, there also might be one happening in Ontario with the unionized workers at the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. They're in a position to strike at midnight tonight. And because, right now there's a lot of change going on in the alcohol market, there are some concerns that maybe this strike, if it lasts, would result in people developing new habits to going to other places, which could damage the LCBO. As opposed to
that's an interesting spin from a PR firm trying to make you hate the union for standing up for their rights.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it is. That's all
Yep.
that is.
Yep.
And there's some validity to the statement for sure, but they're just trying to spin it to make you hate the union. And here's the thing: people are saying, and I'm sure you've heard this about, having it available in corner stores just makes it more easily accessible for those of us who don't necessarily live close to a liquor store, right?
Right. Especially like if you're in rural Ontario.
Yes. Fair point.
Yes.
Fair point. But something to consider about that. The employee of the corner store who does not work 40 hours a week, who is getting paid minimum wage, is not a full-time unionized employee getting a good wage.
Mm-hmm.
This is a subversion of unions by the Ford government and a way to keep us down.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody sees it. Well, I shouldn't say everybody sees it. A lot of people see it as convenience. I see it as a billion-dollar boondoggle, along with the fact that jobs are going to disappear, and he doesn't give a shit. And he wants to get rid of unions because unions cut into the bottom line of his big, wealthy donors' corporate profits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So management talks are scheduled to continue today and could right up to midnight, the midnight deadline. I did that thing in French where you take like the S from the previous word and put it to the next one. Management stocks. Accidental humor. All right. Hurricane Beryl.
I agree with Carol on this statement. Union hating isn't going to happen. People are suffering. Wages, benefits, and job security are all things people want, and we will stand with them. And I agree with you. And I think as the PR spin tries to make us hate on the union, it's backfiring, especially with the younger generations. They're like, no. These people have their rights. They had the legal right to form a union. They have the legal right to strike. They have the legal right to demand better wages. They have the legal right to demand job protections. So let them do it. And I support them because guess what? When the tide goes up, we all rise with it. Remember? Rising boat lifts all tides. A rising tide lifts all boats. You know what I mean.
I love that when that happens.
Second coffee.
I love that sometimes that happens because sometimes you realize, hey, it kind of works too, but in another way. All right. Barreling down. It's bad. It was bearing down on Jamaica. Now it didn't hit Jamaica in terms of making landfall, but there was still lots of devastation from the winds and the rains and the wave surges. So it's packing winds at speeds of up to about 225 kilometers an hour now. It remained a powerful Category 4 as it approached Jamaica, where officials had declared a state of emergency. The National Hurricane Center Director, Michael Brennan, said that that's probably the National Hurricane Center in the United States. Director says that the storm is moving quickly through the Caribbean. Quote, first, we're most concerned about Jamaica. This is before it reached there, where we're expecting devastating hurricane force winds, life-threatening storm surge, and damaging waves to overspread the islands and continue into this evening. He said that hurricane was expected to threaten the Cayman Islands overnight and then Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula on Thursday. It is, I remind you, the strongest hurricane to form this early in the Atlantic hurricane season, fueled by warm ocean waters because the surface temperature on the water is as warm now in early July as it normally is at sometime in September when it's accumulated the heat from the entire summer.
Yeah. So this is a little on the scary side.
Yeah. So around 5 p.m. yesterday, the eye was moving just off the coast of Kingston, Jamaica. And the Prime Minister declared the entire country a major disaster area. They were warning about storm surges that could raise the waters up to 9 feet or 3 meters. By that time, 6 people had already died. And then the forecast was for the center of the storm to pass over near the Cayman Islands on Wednesday night, and then towards the Yucatan Peninsula. Evan Thompson, who's a meteorologist in Jamaica, said, "We saw by video taking places in places like Barbados and Grenada and St. Vincent's. We saw the storm surge. We saw the devastation that these countries have been encountering, and it makes us have to stop to consider how we will prepare ourselves to face something like that." There were blackouts that hit parts of Kingston, so the full extent of the damages may not be known for some time. It continued to move south of Jamaica. And the more recent forecast says that it's still going towards Cayman Islands, but it will lose some steam, dropping down to a Category 2 hurricane, then perhaps down to a tropical storm, and escalating back to a Category 1 as it makes landfall in either Mexico or Texas. So it might miss Mexico altogether now, based on
might get a bit of a break.
Yes. Now, on the first islands that it hit, down in the Woodward Islands area, communities were left with no water or power. Boats were tossed onto the shore. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to mangled heaps of metal. Marlon Gibson, who lives in St. Vincent's and the Grenadines, which took a direct hit from the storm, says, "This is actually the strongest storm that we've had come through St. Vincent in my lifetime. They're really just hoping for the best. All around me, there were houses in the village. Their roofs are flying past. You could see it passing. It was just a terrifying experience." There's another, according to the Prime Minister, Dickon Mitchell, he said that on Union Island, 90% of the houses were damaged or destroyed. That's in addition to Carriacou, what we talked about yesterday, where the Prime Minister of Grenada said that communications were down and almost nothing was left standing at all. Like all vegetation just gone.
Well, it says only 2 hurricanes have made landfall in Jamaica in the last 40 years. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 and Gilbert in 1988. Sandy was Category 1 when it slammed into Jamaica in 2012, but Gilbert is perhaps the most infamous storm Jamaica ever endured. Sustained winds of 130 miles an hour. Whoa. That's like 200K. That is serious. Damages $2 billion and deaths of at least 45 people back in 88. Now, Jamaica was kind of spared on this one, thankfully, because although they got hit with heavy rain and severe winds, they never made landfall. So that makes things a little bit better.
Yeah. If you put some images, they said on the radio when I was on the podcast when I was looking to check out the satellite images, this is Carriacou before and after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it got hit pretty hard, that's for sure.
There's nothing left.
I've seen worse. I've seen much worse. It's bad. It's bad, no question. But I've seen much worse. Pretty bad. Yeah. Well, that's hurricane.
I can't imagine.
I remember Hurricane David in 1979. It hit Newfoundland, and it was, I think, down to Category 1 by the time it made landfall. And I remember we had fun because it was just super windy. But we were kids. What did we know? I was like 11 years old. David did some serious damage throughout the U.S. that year. I remember that. And, of course, the following year we had Mount St. Helens in Washington State. So it was like there was a lot of big weather events back then. But, well, technically a volcano was not a weather event, but it does affect the weather later on. But it was not a weather event. It just, it exploded. Blew the top off the mountain.
Speaking of just a little aside, speaking of Mount St. Helens, you might like this one, Mr. Grizzly. This kind of popped up yesterday.
Just a second.
Hold on. I might have to blow that up.
I don't even see it. It's not there.
Oh, there you go. Somebody tweeted, "I probably wouldn't be sad if some Supreme Court justices fell into a volcano."
I'm here to help. That's kind of funny.
Once again, the women stand up for the nation.
It's pretty funny.
I kind of, listen, this is not the first time I'm seeing it. I still,
That's not a small earthquake.
so imagine how hard I laughed when I saw it the first time.
4.8 isn't small.
Ooh.
4.8, you're going to feel that. Because I've been through 3s and 4s, and you feel it. You know what's going on. You feel the shaking. You feel the buildings moving. 4.8 it's not tiny.
Now, back in the first islands where a barrel hit, relief efforts by the United Nations, local governments, nonprofit groups are now underway across the region. And meteorologists say, like I said, they expect it to weaken, but they are also predicting that more hurricanes will follow soon. Instead of the usual 7 per year, they're expecting as many as 13 in the coming months. Michael Lowry, who's a meteorologist and hurricane specialist for WPLG TV in Miami, says, quote, "There's no doubt that the warmer waters are due primarily because of the warming climate, and we are seeing the effects of that in stronger hurricanes. Hurricane Beryl moved over the warmest waters that we've ever recorded in the Atlantic going back 40 plus years. This is an unprecedented storm," he says, "and it's kicking off what's expected to be one of the most active hurricane seasons on record." Quote, and this one sent a chill down my spine. "Water temperatures going from 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit can mean a 5-fold increase in devastating flood rainfall on top of the greater potential for these storms to more rapidly intensify."
Wow.
Just 5 degrees Fahrenheit. I do not know what that is, what a spread that is in Celsius.
3.
Probably at least
3.
1, 3.
3 degrees Celsius is the warning point, right? So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Once.
Just looking it up here if I can find it quickly. That's not helpful at all.
No.
I did not look at that the right way. But a 5-fold increase, just 5 degrees Fahrenheit change in temperature. So no word yet whether or not it'll come up the Atlantic coast. From
it's 3
what
degrees Celsius is the change.
Okay, excellent. So from what I'm seeing, there doesn't seem to be anything after it reaching the Yucatan Peninsula or maybe Texas so far, and what happens to it afterwards that I've heard in the news. So still no sense whether or not they expect it to go up the coast or not, or just die out in that area. All right.
I have a clip for you from our friend Creek Pete. Yes. I don't know if you've seen this yet. This is about the encampment in Alberta and how there was an accident and the RCMP came in to talk to them. And this is if you haven't seen this one is really special, folks. Have a listen.
Let's listen. We have a king that runs our country, and he's a pedophile. And these guys are Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which means they serve the king of our country. And that's why they're pedophiles, because they won't stand up for what's right. Because you don't use words way beyond your 20 IQ. Yeah, you go down to the very bottom of the barrel, cat hole, or the rabbit hole, it's the fucking Jews. Oh. Now, there's a whole lot of stupid to unpack there, like legitimate moron stupid, right? The fact that we don't have a king here in Canada. Also, the P word, because of course everybody's a P word. If you don't agree with the ditch billies, you're a P word, right?
Yeah.
Also, the RCMP are now P words because I don't know. You know, like I say, the only way for that to make any kind of logical sense is if you take a hammer to your head a few times, kill a bunch of million brain cells, and then maybe that'll make sense to someone that isn't, born of siblings, And of course, the anti-Semitism came out. And it's a growing sentiment among that crowd. And for some reason, it's Trudeau that's getting blamed for the rise of anti-Semitism in Canada. Which is weird because those people are 100% supporting Pierre Poilievre. And in fact, the Conservative Party are the ones supporting these people, encouraging them. Isn't that funny? But yet somehow, it's all Trudeau's fault. You nailed it. And of course, Canadian media, they're not going to touch that. They're not... Shh. We're not supposed to see that kind of stuff. It's all Trudeau. He's got to resign and that stuff. But you know what they are talking about? A whole bunch of them are talking about, Trudeau's not going to the Calgary Stampede. Oh no, Globe Politics. Trudeau missing Calgary Stampede. His only absence outside of COVID-19 years. Oh God, no. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's summer campaign circuit will not include a stop at the Calgary Stampede. And we all know why. It's because he hates Alberta. Right? He hates Alberta. That's why he's not going. He's scared to go. He's scared. Or he's going to a NATO summit in Washington, D.C., right? But we all know that people don't read beyond the headlines. So, of course, they leave it open to interpretation because Canadian media sucks balls. Okay, bye.
Yep.
He's got it down. Now, on that one, right, you have the choice of two headlines. Canadian Prime Minister goes to NATO Leaders Summit as new Secretary General shows up for the first time. Or Canadian Prime Minister does not go to the Stampede.
Yeah.
Same story. Just what do you consider the headline?
And you know that, well, we pointed this out yesterday. And what I noticed, there were a lot of folks online who were also pointing it out. They're like, it's because he's going to be at a NATO summit in DC. Maybe you should talk about that. But no, the right-wing owned media, which is largely right-wing in this country, and that's a simple fact. You don't believe me? We can put up the graphic that shows you all of whom they've supported over the last 40 years. Right-wing owned media in this country, and again, Post Media, which is owned by Chatham Asset Management, which is heavily tied to the GOP and a right-wing Christian, in quotes, evangelical organization. Yeah, they want Gilead. So anyway, they will print a headline that is factually correct, but leave out the part that explains why he's not coming. They're trying to foment hatred and anger. They're rage farming. Their puppet masters are making them rage farm. The media is controlled by about 4 different companies in all of North America. That's it. They get to paint the message the way they want you to hear it, read it, and understand it. You're not getting all the facts.
Yep. And one of the facts that you were not getting, I think it was CTV, stating that the Prime Minister wasn't going to be there and no reason for it was given.
They went pretty far on that one.
Now, I don't know about CTV's budget, but I think the political division of CTV would probably have it on their calendar when NATO leaders are supposed to meet, and when G7 leaders are supposed to meet, and when the ASEAN leaders are supposed to meet, all these organizations, so these multilateral organizations that we're part of, when the big meeting at the UN takes place every year, that the Prime Minister sometimes goes to and delivers an address. That would be on the calendar. They would be anchors on the calendar. So all they would have to do is go look at the calendar and say, oh yeah, the NATO Leaders Summit. They wouldn't even need to be told because it's politics, which means it's kind of their thing. So, this is really intentional.
Oh, yeah.
This is really intentional. There's a standard sometimes that's applied that somebody should reasonably be expected to know.
Well,
That there was a NATO leader summit going
kind of a
on
big deal.
is something the political wing of a media, national broadcaster, with the budget that it has in Canada, should be aware. Is reasonably expected.
Let's
to
not
be
forget
aware.
that there is a war going on in Ukraine right now, right? Because they were invaded by Russia, and Ukraine is trying to join NATO. And if Ukraine is allowed into NATO, that means Article 5 is in violation, and all of NATO comes to Ukraine's aid to push Russia out. So I would think that they would probably know that this meeting was taking place, but they chose to not let you know about that because they don't want to give you all the facts. Right. They want to paint a narrative. They want to paint a picture. They want to foment anger and hatred towards the prime minister because he's not doing his PR work, which is what attending the stampede is. It's a PR for all politicians.
And this is and there's people asking like, well, how did the stampede become this thing that the PM must absolutely attend as opposed to any other festival or annual celebration? Number one, and that's a legit question. And the other one is, dudes, he just built y'all a pipeline at great political cost to himself. He's missing one in a non-COVID year because he happens to go to take a week off. Jeez.
That's never going to happen.
It's like, why isn't he paying attention to us, me? Jeez, man. The whining. It's too much. I would say you need to listen to some Taylor Swift. You need to calm down, but for some people, Taylor Swift is triggering, I hear. So that might not be helpful.
Interesting
speaking of,
here from Frank
hold
Graves.
on. Oh, okay.
And this came out at 10:39 p.m. last night. This is rather frightening. I'm going to put this. Hang on, let me blow this up and put it on the screen. This is disturbing. Okay. It's disturbing to me. I think you may find that also equally as disturbing when I see that. It just came across my feed. Support for the Freedom Convoy is not somewhat higher amongst Poilievre supporters than Liberal Party of Canada supporters. It is not twice as high. Not 10 times as high. Yeah. It is 26 times higher. Think about that. The power of these relationships is unheard of. That's really disturbing.
Yeah, we reported on that. Yeah, we reported on that before.
I didn't see that number, though, before. I guess it's different when you see it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's mentioned that before. Yeah, he's pulled for that specifically. Yeah, the adherence. Like I said, when I'm saying that there's something that is happening, online, social media, whatnot, to the brains of men in particular under 50. This is like 26 times more adherence. There's something going on. There's something going on. Now, speaking of these, or ditch billies as they're being referred to, I'm going to stick with loudmouths.
That was what Foghorn Leghorn said, wasn't it? Loudmouth schnook. Is that what Foghorn Leghorn?
Schmuck?
Loudmouth schnook.
Schnook or schmuck?
I could be wrong.
Yeah, probably schnook. Yeah, I'm not sure. All right. In Lacombe, where
the incident just took place that Creek Pete was commenting about. Yeah.
Protest, exactly. Creek Pete was speaking about an incident. According to the Lacombe Express, vehicles collide in front of Highway 2 rest stop on Canada Day by Red Deer Advocate staff. Love it when they don't want to put their name on it. Driver was distracted by anti-carbon tax protesters.
And they're saying, we're getting blamed for this. Yeah.
A driver involved in the Canada Day 3 vehicle collision on Highway 2 was apparently distracted by anti-carbon tax protesters, said the RCMP. RCMP spokesperson Corporal Troy Savinkoff said a group in 3 vehicles were traveling southbound to Calgary when 2 of the vehicles collided about 3:50 p.m. in front of the provincial rest stop just north of Lacombe. Quote, "It was described by one of the occupants in the collision that they were distracted by the protest," said Savinkov on Tuesday. The large stop on the west side of Highway 2 has been the site of a protest encampment for more than 2 months. No one was injured in the collision, which prompted RCMP to issue a warning at 5 p.m. that traffic was slow and reduced to one lane and about a 6-kilometer stretch between Township Road 41-2 and Highway 12 west of Lacombe. Photos posted on social media showed a pickup truck stopped on the highway with significant front-end damage in front of the anti-carbon tax protest site. In a video posted on X, an RCMP officer tells several protesters 2 children under the age of 3 were in the 2 vehicles. Another officer said he had just warned the protesters about the dangers of protesting at the edge of the highway just before the collision. And they kept doing it anyway. Savinkov said the cause of the collision remains under investigation. There's no word yet on charges. RCMP have been monitoring the rest stop protest site for weeks and routinely have stopped by to remind protesters to keep away from the highway. Quote, "The proximity to the highway and the potential for distractions does concern us." So they've been reminded many times before, and they still kept doing it anyway because they respect nothing and no one. In April, 5 farm tractors on their way to a protest at a Crow's Nest Pass protest caused a multi-vehicle collision. In the last 3 months, RCMP have issued several releases alerting drivers to slow-moving traffic when a protest convoy is planning to use the highway. So it would seem that this incident may have led to the dismantling of that encampment. It seems that some people have decided to go home, some rather quickly.
Yeah, they packed up and hightailed it out of there as quickly as possible, because they don't want to be charged for the crimes they committed. Did I say that out loud? Oh my goodness, I think I did. Wouldn't the occupation of a truck stop be deemed illegal occupation of private property? I don't know that. I'm literally asking the question because I don't know. I don't know if that was a private property thing. I have no idea.
Yep. Don't know at all on that one. Now, interesting that this didn't get as much play as I thought it would, because when I heard about it, I saw it on Twitter, and I actually had to ask, like, car accident? I find this really interesting that given how much time and space the occupation of Ottawa took in the media and whatnot, that the trials and that these types of things, what the follow-up, the encampments, whatnot, are not, I don't know, it just seems to me that they're not getting the coverage that I thought that they would. It's like, it seems to me that this would be so much more higher profile in the news that it is. I mean, that's all we could talk about for an X number of weeks. And then we had, the Emergency Act inquiry, and then we had the federal court decision from Justice Mosley. So all that side of it is getting lots of media attention, but the other side, the accountability piece, isn't. Very, very interesting the way it's being played out. The other thing, when we're talking about them, and this is from a bit ago, from June 21st, but in press progress, the Save the Children convoy finally ends. Total amount of children saved, 0.
Color me not surprised in the least.
Maybe it wasn't about the children. Yes. Save the Children convoy finally ends, leaving farmer with piles of garbage, rancid food, and unpaid bills. Leaders of conspiratorial Save the Children convoy end year-long protests by accusing one another of smear campaigns and disgraceful behavior. All good things, all things, well, it didn't say all good things, all things must come to an end. That includes the unlikely friendship between an Eastern Ontario farmer by the name of Chet Wiggins and a group of QAnon adjacent anti government conspiracy theorists who built a commune in his backyard. A year after it first began, the so called Save the Children convoy has finally dispersed from a farm outside Ottawa, or I think that's probably a Camp Bouncy Castleman. Where it was quartering through the arduous winter months while plotting its next moves against the federal government. As first reported by Press Progress last year, the Save the Children convoy was a far-right movement that revolved around anti-LGBTQ paranoia, pedophile conspiracies, secret plans to jail politicians, and replace Canada's democratically elected government. Don't hold back now, Luke Lebrar. The convoy group's belief system was equally complicated, drawing inspiration from dizzying sources like QAnon, New Age spirituality, and sovereign citizen ideologies. Their activities also led Toronto police to shut down parts of downtown Toronto last year, while their daily protests at Parliament Hill in Ottawa led to several arrests and one man being tasered in the middle of Wellington Street. The group initially set up a rural base camp 40 minutes east of Ottawa in Castleman. Yes, it is Camp Bouncy Castleman, Ontario, where over 100 vehicles were seen camping out and staging daily protests to Parliament Hill. But as winter approached, the group dug into a location up Concession Road 20 at a property owned by local farmer Chet Wiggins. Wiggins, who initially denied knowledge of the group's extreme beliefs and claimed a group of travelers had simply offered to fix his barn in exchange for lodging. Aww, more friendly sausage makers. Insisted no, quote, hippie communes would be built on his property. Yet, the farmer appeared to contradict those public statements and let the convoy group establish a ramshackle settlement with semi-permanent structures, included rusted trailers and teepees in his backyard for the next 7 months. The free-spirited community came to a sudden end a few weeks ago when unpaid hydro bills led to a falling out between Wiggins and the, quote, freedom people. They quote, they told us they would leave our property the way it was when they arrived last October 2023, Chet Wiggins' spouse Danielle Goyette Wiggins wrote in a since-deleted Facebook post with photos showing a mess of garbage, rotting food, and wrecked trailers strewn about her property. Because no good deed. Goyette Wiggins' post singled out several freedom people by name who had been camping out in their backyard, including Norman Blanchfield and Gordon Berry, two of the main leaders of the Save the Children convoy. Quote, what a bunch of unforgivable humans that are fighting the government against being screwed, but they screwed us more than anyone, Goyette Wiggins added. Their mission was to live off anybody's backs.
Yep.
And actually,
they refuse to work. They don't want to work. They just want to grift and say that they're representing us, but they're not. They're not representing us. They're grifting.
There you go. So her tweet, her Facebook post, I'm guessing, is, to all the, quote, freedom people who enjoyed our property, this is what Pappy, Norman, Fred, Gord, etc. left us with. They told us they would leave our property the way it was when they arrived last October 2023. We've already filled 4 dumpsters so far. This is the appreciation and gratitude we have received from these oh-so-wonderful people. We could definitely use some hands to help us clean this place up.
You know, I don't have any sympathy for them or empathy. I don't. They decided to host those folks. They took them at their word, and they got screwed. It's called buyer beware. I don't have any empathy for them or sympathy. You hosted a bunch of coup-wanting, anti-democratic, ignorant individuals who are ill-informed, and you're paying the price for it now. That's FAFO.
But how they left the place tells the rest of us, doesn't it? It adds a whole lot of color and texture to who these people are.
Look, I knew who they were all along. I guess now everybody else is finding out too.
Right?
I've seen people like this my whole life.
This is living down to expectations. Instead of helping fix their barn, Goyette Wiggins says the Save the Children convoy left her family with thousands of dollars in unpaid bills. Quote, hydro outstanding is over $3,000, not to mention damages, broken equipment, the cleanup, broken fruit trees, and so much more. Neither Norman Blanchfield nor Gordon Berry responded to Press Progress's requests for a response to Goyette Wiggins' allegations. However, Berry broadcasted a lengthy livestream video about directly addressing some of the allegations. According to Berry, the farm's screwy power bills led to a huge blow-up one night. Quote, Chet came out to the trailer and we were all sitting in the trailer and Chet actually basically just went off the rails on Norm, Berry alleges in his live stream. It turned into a massive fight, massive screaming match, all this kind of shit, name-calling, threats, nose-to-nose, almost got physical. All of us were kind of sideballed. Barry claimed convoy members were forced to sleep at a nearby gas station that night, but eventually wandered back to the farm after Wiggins had time to cool off. A week later, when the group woke up to go to Ottawa for one of Blanchfield's court proceedings, Barry alleges they found themselves blocked in. There were 2 vehicles that were parked across the driveways, like blocking us in the property, Barry said. There was a trailer lock, a hitch lock put on the trailer that I was in. I think Chet was paranoid that everybody was going to bail and he was going to be stuck with the bill, Barry speculated. Whether he should have done that or he didn't, now you feel like you're trapped in a bit of a prison scenario. Gee, really?
Well, I mean,
I think, do you have a cup of that? I think it's time for a little synchronized drink in there.
we told you this would happen. We told you.
I should not be laughing so hard.
You know, sometimes it sucks when you're always right about something. No, I have no sympathy or empathy for them. They brought this upon themselves. They got grifted, and I feel bad about that. But they were fully supporting their message of save the children. There was no children to be saved.
But this is from the people who were doing the alleged saving of the children.
Alleged. You know what they did? They just grifted people for money and food.
Now you feel you're trapped in a bit of... Yeah, Chet on the farm. He and his wife alone with all of you who wouldn't leave for 7 months. The 150,000 people in downtown Ottawa for 3 weeks who... Really? Oh. So it's not that you have a problem. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you know how it feels. Maybe don't do that. I'm going to assume you didn't know better before you, but now you do. So do better. Holy crap. It's the lack of self-awareness that gets me, Mr. Grizzly. I swear. Goyette Wiggins' recollection of events is different. While she and Barry agree the relationship deteriorated after an altercation between Chet Wiggins and Norman Blanchfield, in her version of the story, she alleges it was the Save the Children convoy leader who was the real aggressor. Quote, when we asked for hydro money, Norm took one of his sissy fits. Sissy fits. Not a hissy fit.
Because they're supposed to be the big tough guys, right? And they always picking on Justin Trudeau and calling her Justine. Saying, you know, referring to Justin Trudeau as her and Justine Trudeau.
Yeah. Yep. I thought I was petty. Sheesh.
Took a sissy fit.
You know what? Mrs. Goyette Wiggins? I don't agree with you, but points for style. Screaming at Chet, threatening to punch him in the face and threatening our property also. Chet should have decked him, but he has more self-control, Goyette Wiggins said, adding they didn't call police because they believe the police are, quote, useless. He was told to leave. We had enough. Goyette Wiggins did confirm Chet Wiggins blocked in the Save the Children convoy and placed locks on Gordon Barry's vehicle. That's usually not a good thing to do. Yes, it did happen, but obviously there was a reason for that. We don't do things like that willy-nilly. We could feel that they were planning on screwing us. Yeah, still doesn't give you the right to engage in detaining people.
You know, somebody's gonna go off on me somewhere on social media about, well, you have no sympathy for them. You asked for sympathy when they were in your neighborhood. No, I didn't ask for sympathy. I asked for them to leave. Number one, and number two, I did not invite them here. They did to them what they did to us, and they were invited there, which is why I have no sympathy. Yeah. It's like, oh, they won't do it to us. No, they'll do it to whoever they want because they don't give a shit about anyone but themselves.
They can't even stand each other.
They're selfish and entitled and self-centered, and they, like you said, they can't even stand each other.
That's why this thing blew up. Man. After the incident, Barry claims he paid Chet Wiggins the money he was owed, at which point Wiggins apologized to him. The two men made their peace. Quote, I gave them at that point $4,260, Barry claimed. Chet shook my hand, says, you know what, you're a man of your word. I apologize, whatever, it's all good. Mm-hmm. Barry is confused why Danielle Goyette Wiggins posted photos of the mess in her yard, which caused him to receive angry messages from convoy supporters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, but this is good to know. There are standards, even among the convoy supporters.
Well, I'm sure there are people who support them that are not fully ensconced in what is actually taking place. They just like the idea of pushing back against the government because your provincial premiers installed mandates. Anyway.
Yeah, but again, not a monolith, right? I'd just given them $4,260, Barry said. There was zero mention to me about the cleanup issues or any mess, none whatsoever. All this stuff gets posted and blasted, and then I get tagged in it. And now I'm thinking, what the holy fuck did I deserve that? What in the holy fuck did I deserve that because I stepped in front of this to try to keep this all calm? This turned into a smear campaign, Barry said. A giant fucking smear campaign. Again, no.
No. It's not a smear campaign when you do it to yourself.
Yes, but you feel like you've been involved in a smear campaign because you know nothing about starting a smear campaign. Yum, yum, yum. Again, zero self-awareness, man. Seriously, this all turned into a smear campaign as they ride around with fuck Trudeau flags. Oh God, whatever Creek Pete has got, I think he gave it to me. Barry also took offense to being thrown under the bus by the controlled op groups and other leaders and influencers involved with the Save the Children convoy. I feel this article needs to come with a laugh.
Well,
I'm sorry. Ron Clark, Freedom George, Jason Levine, Barry said, given that we were all effing in this together at one point, I would expect that at least you guys would have called. On their own live streams, the other Save the Children convoy personalities pointed fingers back at Barry and Blanchfield. I seen some pictures last night and going through some of the comments on there with Darlene and Chet. Convoy influencer Ron Clark said on a live stream, the way that camp was left after everybody left was absolutely shameful, Clark said. That doesn't represent who we are as people. That is just a disgrace. I'm disgusted, added convoy influencer Freedom George, whose real name is George Billings. This is not how you're supposed to treat people. They did nothing to you except give you hospitality and a place to stay and a place to clean up. There's no excuse for that. I don't care what the stories are. We found something on which we can agree.
Go figure.
Manners. Freedom George said the garbage and waste left him particularly troubled. I'm also wondering why you kept on taking donations of stuff you didn't need, Freedom George asked. It's not a flea market. It's not a dump. Why would you need all those clothes, like bags and bags and bags of clothes? If you're going to be out protesting, building camps, or anything else, you got to clean up after yourself, said Freedom George, who was criminally convicted for his role in the 2022 Freedom Convoy occupation of Ottawa. Okay, the guy that was criminally convicted for his role in the Freedom Convoy is telling other people, guys.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Not helping the cause.
All the food that was left, why didn't that go to a homeless shelter? Why didn't that go somewhere? It just went to waste. At home, the chickens get it or the dogs get it, Freedom George noted. If we're harvesting an animal from the wild, the wolves and the coyotes and the cougars and the birds, they get the bones and everything else. Nothing goes to waste. And the article goes on.
So there's one person that seems to have some amount of integrity. This Freedom George fellow, who I don't care for at all. What? Broken clock, right?
Even Ron Clark.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But hey, 2 encampments gone.
Is there any more left, or those were the last ones?
Well, those were the 2 main ones. If there was the one on the in Atlantic, Canada. Where PP decided to go to pay a trailer visit.
Park thing. Yeah, I forgot about that.
That might still be there. How are we doing for time, Mr.
We gotta wrap up.
All right, kids and cubs, we'll be bringing you more about the UK election, of course, tomorrow on the show. That's it for this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to support us, you can by going to our pod page. Thanks to the Ray Girl, of course. Podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you click subscribe there, once we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. Now, if you would like to support us in other ways, then you need to make like Kit Elaine and go to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page and smash with our buttons. Like, share, subscribe. They're all there waiting for you. Lick 'em, flick 'em,
Like
click
the
'em.
Ray Girl for
It makes
sponsoring
us
us for another
very
year.
happy.
Yeah, she sponsored our, page, our
Another
pod page
year?
for another year. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I want to say thanks for that. I thought I'd let you know. She sent me the money last night.
Thank you. God, she's kids are so good to us. Okay. I got to do this fast. I can't. Sorry, I can't well up. Dry the ice. Okay. All right. So yes, make like Kit Elaine and go to our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page and click like, share, subscribe there. Last time I checked, we were about 20 away from 4,000. So thank you, everybody that got us there. And if you would like to support us in
No,
yet
we're at
another
4,001.
way,
Yeah, we're at 4,001.
it happened. It happened during the show then. Boom.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, kids. 4,000. Yay. All right. That's really up to you guys. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to support us in other ways, please go to our coffee page and find the Emergency Hydration Fund, where you can contribute whatever you can in order to help us produce the show and bring it to you. We appreciate everything that you do. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kit Carol. Really important that you guys stay on air. So thank you. I really appreciate that. We love to hear from you. So write to us at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Let us know what you're up to, what's on your mind. If you have thoughts on things, we really appreciate it. And also leave us stars and reviews on Apple Podcasts if you're listening to us there. Write to us at TrueEager at our X or Shitter or Twitter or whatever you're calling it these days, or leave us a message on our YouTube page or our Facebook page too, True North Eager Beaver. We love to hear what you have to say, and we do try to read absolutely everything. All right. Because democracy is something that you do. If you live in the provinces of British Columbia, Saskatchewan, or New Brunswick, you have provincial elections coming up. So take a look at what it is that you can do to either help a candidate or help with the electoral process itself. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Because there is an election taking place in the UK. Make sure you get out and vote. But I think one of your best votes for Prime Minister would be Rick Astley, because he will never give you up, let you down, run around, desert you, make you cry, say goodbye, tell a lie, or hurt you.
Oh, yeah. That's my kind of candidate. Ooh, give you love. Never gonna
Thanks
give.
to Cassie for sending that.
All right,
appreciate
Mr.
it.
Grizzly. I love that. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Just to note that the pro-Palestinian encampment at the University of Toronto has been dismantled. Well, not actually dismantled. The protesters went away of their own accord after being threatened with a court injunction. And at Wimbledon, unfortunately, Felix Auger-Aliassime's match got spread over 2 days due to rain, and he played someone who is really good if you can get him on a roll. And unfortunately, he lost. So did Marina Stikusic, who played a really, really great game, however, against one of the top players in the world. But everyone else has advanced, and Bianca Andreescu has advanced to the third round. So go Canada, go.
Well, speaking of go, I have to. I'll see you.
Oh, bye-bye.